How are you doing today? It's another episode of Plugged In from YAA Electric. Today we're talking Toyota, Tesla, Lordstown. Who knows what else will come to mind? But Justice, thank you so much for being here again with me. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, awesome, awesome. And I see quite a few people in the chat here. Learning Fast, Jordan, Susanna Mustafa. Learning Fast says that the Corvette C8 Z06 embargo lifts at 11 a.m. So we'll be learning a lot about that right about now. So Learning Fast, you can drop what makes you excited about the Corvette C8 Z06 in the chat, and we'll see just exactly how awesome it's going to be. But yeah, today headline story, we're going to talk about how Toyota is sticking to its strategy with traditional hybrid powertrains. The rollout of their first fully electric vehicle has not gone nearly as planned, but now we've got some new comments from Toyota's CEO that we will dive into, and it does shed quite a bit of light on what they plan to do in the future. Um, yeah, and it's not looking like a very electric future, at least in the 2020s for Toyota, but we'll get into it, shall we?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
I'll be curious to hear your take on his thoughts.
Yeah, yeah. We'll talk about that soon. But
Yeah.
I always like to start with a few other topics while we get more viewers to join us live. And I was going to kick it off with a brand that we do not talk about very often on this show, and that is Lordstown. Lordstown is based in Lordstown, Ohio. Midwestern built EVs. They were off to a very slow start, and we've got some new comments from Lordstown. Most of them I would say are pretty positive, but if you're a regular driver like me and not a fleet operator, it looks like we're not going to be getting the Lordstown Endurance, for us at least, at any point in the next few years at a minimum. Because the awesome guys over at TFL EV, I know Zach knows, I forget his name, but Zach has some connections with TFL, so that's pretty cool. But they were interviewing Lordstown's CEO at the Detroit Auto Show, and what he shared is that they're only going to be selling to fleet customers, to commercial customers. So if you love the Lordstown Endurance, it's an awesome electric truck with a motor at each wheel. So it's not the first time we've seen that, but that is one of the characteristics that stands out with the Lordstown Endurance versus like the F-150 Lightning, etc. You can't buy it unless you're a fleet operator. Justice, were you aware of what the pricing is? If not, I want to see what you think the Lordstown Endurance would be worth for a starting price. The CEO did share that range would be about 200 miles on a charge, so that's like below average. What do you think a 200-mile range startup company EV electric truck designed for fleet customers would start at, pricing wise?
So it should be in the 30s. So I guess,
It's not in the 30s. Nope.
yeah. So I'm going to guess 45,000 for a fleet customer.
Oh.
Oh.
Anyone else in the chat want to chime in the next 30 seconds? What do you think the 200-mile range Lordstown Endurance fleet-oriented electric truck will start at? And this is directly from the CEO. He shared it with TFL EV on YouTube. Love that channel. Nobody wants to guess. Okay. Starts at 62,000. I would
For the
buy.
fleet?
Yeah,
For the fleet pricing.
they're only selling for the fleet pricing. They said they have
Okay.
one trim, one configuration. This is from the CEO. One configuration, all of them for fleet customers. They're not even. I forget his name. I'm so embarrassed. But is it Tommy? Tommy from TFL? I think so. Tommy from TFL asked him, so is there going to be a way for regular guys like you and me to buy the Lordstown Endurance? And he said, no, not right now. So for the fleet customers, no matter what, starting at 62,500 for the Lordstown Endurance. The only problem I really have with that is the range of 200 miles, but it would still be doable for around town. They have not released charging specs yet. Maybe it'll have 170, 200 kilowatt peak charging. I doubt it. But Foxconn is building it. Can't forget that. Foxconn is the largest maker of iPhones, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
They're a huge electronics. maker. So interesting there. How many have Hertz ordered so far?
Oh, of the Lordstown Endurance?
Yeah.
Good one. Pretty sure they haven't ordered any.
No, well then I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe Walmart will come along and order some and retrofit them for deliveries or something. That's what they did with Canoe. They basically saved Canoe.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. But I'm all for American made EVs, so I'm hoping that they succeed. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, there's no like ill will wishing towards them. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's an interesting strategy, and all the luck in the world to them for it.
Yes, indeed. You want to fill us in on Tesla's latest numbers before we dive into Toyota news?
Sure. So Tesla had some disappointing delivery numbers. They came in at the 3 and Y, excuse me, came in at 343,830 vehicles delivered, which is about 14,000 ish short of their goal, which was 358,000. So, they took a little bit of a hit there. Um, keeping in mind that the 343,000 is still a record for Tesla. So they
Yeah,
disappointed with record delivery. And then they also delivered some S and X in
yeah.
there, but I
Mostly
couldn't.
3 and Y.
Yeah, like 95% of their deliveries in business was 3 and Y. So there's some others, but so their stock was down 6.3% on that news of just under 4% missing their target, but still having uh, the best record delivery that they've had so far. Elon Musk is saying, part of that is this end of quarter push that he has hated for a long time and doesn't like. This is why they're building more and more local plants to deliver out locally. I believe he said slow and steady ahead is the way that Tesla wants to go for their vehicle deliveries. Um, they also said on AI Day that they're not a car company, so something else to think about.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, what was the big takeaway from Tesla AI Day?
The big takeaway was really that once again Elon iterated that Tesla is a tech company. They are an AI company. They're the number one publicly traded AI company in the world, and they also happen to sell some pretty cool cars, as he said. Um, so he's definitely trying to shift people's perception of what Tesla is. Um, the robot was fine. It's not there yet, obviously. Um, Elon says mass production next year on it. So probably 2025 and in real person time, not
Mhm.
Elon time.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
we'll see some stuff in there. But I mean, it was really just that's what Tesla's focus is on right now is AI. So autonomous driving, the robots, all this stuff. And he thinks that being in the hands of the public is the most important part of that. That publicly traded companies should be doing AI, and then when the public doesn't like what's happening or gets scared about what's happening, they should fire the people in charge.
yeah. I don't know about that, but it is what it is. Not my company, right?
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting thought to I haven't fully digested it all yet, in my opinion on that, but it is what he said. But if
Yeah,
I can compare and contrast Tesla here, Neo had the best sales that they've had as well. And their stock is up 2.4% because they delivered, this is the Chinese EV maker, they delivered 3,149 premium sedans. Um, and so their stock shot up.
yeah,
So good for them. They're becoming a player. I mean, I know when you compare it with Tesla, but Tesla's been around for a long time, like
yeah,
12 years. So this wasn't a compare and contrast as if it's ridiculous. It's another player starting to come up in the market and doing really well.
Yeah, I look forward to getting more and more of our Q3 numbers in throughout this week, either Wednesday or Friday of this week. I suspect, Justice, you and I will have a show all about EV market share updates because honestly, this is my favorite time of the year is when we get the latest numbers in. EV world speaking, maybe not my favorite time of the year, but I love when we get the latest quarterly sales numbers in. Um, and that's happening today, tomorrow. Not every automaker will release their numbers on time. I remember last quarter, Ford was really slow to get their numbers out, but I'm looking forward to see how Tesla fared versus the rest of the industry because even though yeah, technically a 4% miss. I think we're going to see a lot of other legacy automakers struggling far more than that. I could see
Yep.
Tesla's US EV market share going up slightly from 66% to maybe closer to 70%, simply because Hyundai, Kia, Ford, they've been having a hard time making EVs. They've got plenty of demand, but their supply chain issues are so spread out, they're not nearly as vertically integrated as Tesla is. I think Tesla might once again take back a little bit of market share. They're still dominating.
Yeah, agreed. And I think, as Igor says, their stock slide still makes them one of the most valuable
Yeah.
uh, automakers on the planet. So, I mean, it was a small miss for a very large company in a time that everybody's missing. I agree.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Toyota, though. Toyota is not feeling so optimistic about electrification. We've got some news out from Toyota's CEO, basically taking the pessimistic route. But some might call it just more of a realist route or pragmatic approach to the electrification of the automotive industry, at least how Toyota sees it. Now, let me get some quotes for you to kick off this discussion. You may have noticed if you're watching us on YouTube that behind me, I've got the BZ4X, which is still in a stop sale. It initially launched US sales for like a few weeks in late spring to June of 2022. So a few months ago, the BZ4X just barely started to go on sale. I think 200 were delivered. And then almost immediately, the BZ4X, Toyota's first fully electric vehicle for sale in North America, faced a serious recall and stop sale. And Toyota eventually ended up trying to buy back as many as they could. And no fix has been released. So that's a pessimistic, that's kind of a negative start to begin with. I wonder how much that influenced Toyota CEO Akio Toyoda's thoughts about the electrification of the company. Um, he was
I
asked,
mean, by the way, that's just weird that there's still no fix. They were just lug
yeah,
nuts coming off of the vehicle. It seems like a problem that if you wanted to fix it, you could fix it really quickly.
yes, yes, I've wondered about that myself, and I wonder how deep we could dig to try to get some answers when it comes to that, but I don't know. But here's my favorite quote from Toyota's annual gathering of Toyota dealerships here in the United States. I think it was in Las Vegas last week. This is my favorite quote from CEO Akio Toyoda. He said, "Toyota is a department store of all sorts of powertrains. It's not right for the department store to say this is what you should buy." So starting to stack up the excuses for Toyota's delayed rollout of EVs, providing plenty of defense for their strategy with sticking to hybrid powertrains. I know Zach, in particular, is a big fan of Toyota's strategy to stick with hybrids, at least as EV supply chains get expanded and worked out here domestically. Um, Toyota does have plenty of success with their hybrids, but will that be the case 5 years from now? Toyota's kind of gambling that it will be. Now, Justice, I want to get your first take while I pull up Toyota's own electric vehicle website because I found something kind of hilarious I wanted to share with everyone. But what's your take on Toyota's comments that uh, they're they're not going to rush towards EVs?
I mean, it's if this was anyone other than Toyota, I would say that they're totally missing the boat and they're not understanding the major shifts in the world that are happening all over. It's not just, the California Air Resource Board, but lots of European countries are putting bans in place. Lots of automakers are running towards there. And any automaker sort of taking this point of view, for the most part, I think, could it be expected that they're going to stumble and fall. However, this is Toyota, and I never count Toyota out.
Yes.
So, so if this is the way they want to go, they've stumbled a couple times in the past, always come back stronger than they ever were before. So if this is a stumble, okay, they'll just come back stronger. But I think this is strategic on their part. And while I wouldn't go this direction, um, I also don't run a multi-billion-dollar car company.
Same.
That is one of the most successful in the world.
Yep.
So you should probably listen to him more than you listen to me.
Yeah, and that's funny because that's kind of my takeaway too is that Toyota has access to so much more industry analysis and industry data, projections, supply chain numbers than you and I do, of course. Toyota may know something that most of the EV media doesn't know. Like, for example, how bad is the battery supply chain shortage going to be in the next few years? Toyota definitely pays people plenty of money to look into that. They've got battery partnerships with a number of battery suppliers. Um, they I don't know, this could be the first turn towards pessimism from a major automotive executive out of many. I could see others starting to scale back their plans, not abandoning EVs. They're all in clearly with a nearly $1 trillion invested. But I think the timelines, that's what we might have to see changing because as much as they want to go electric, the more that I look at industry analysis, I'm not quite sure they're going to be able to do it by the time frames that some of the automotive OEMs have said they're shooting for. But anyways, that's besides the point for now. Let's focus on Toyota for a bit. Here's how they are pitching their electrified lineup. I want to point out that they've got 13 hybrid options right now and one fully electric model that you cannot buy because of the stop sale. So Toyota is all in on hybrids. Now, they pitch hybrids throughout this page. I mean, that's not a surprise. It's Toyota, and hybrids are a great way to save on fuel costs. They are. I'm not against hybrids
Mm-hmm.
at all. In fact, they're much more accessible than a lot of EVs considering today's electric vehicle prices. But what I want to point out is they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hybrids, traditional hybrids. And then they throw the BZ4X in here. Now, what made me giggle, a real giggle, was that down here they've got like a way that you can skip ahead to the different types of powertrains Toyota is offering now and in the near future. Notice anything about this, Justice? You got electrified, hybrid, plug-in hybrid, fuel cell electric.
Yeah, well, is electrified? I feel like electrified covers a lot of those other categories
Well, here's the thing.
already, but
You have to move it over. They kind of hit it.
yeah,
They kind of hit it. Look, all electric. It's kind of hidden. Got to jump over there to the right. I thought that was a little bit funny. They're
yeah, and the fuel cell electric, please. The infrastructure. We talk about infrastructure all the time. The hydrogen infrastructure. Come on, it's not even being built.
yeah. So I think Tesla, not Tesla. Toyota would have a much brighter future if they do go deeper into the plug-in hybrid world. They're staying strong with hybrids, but fuel cells that might have a commercial future considering the infrastructure needed to fuel hydrogen powered EVs. But when it comes to the consumer side for like guys like you and I, there's not a lot going on because over there in California, you're the epicenter of hydrogen powered vehicles. And how is it going in California?
Yeah, there's you can't get from Sacramento to Los Angeles on a hydrogen powered vehicles. There's not enough charging, and when I was at Toyota and we went to Mirai to fuel up at the hydrogen station, it was $17 a gallon.
Yeah,
So
that's a
let's
lot.
not forget that whole thing too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of and part of that is that the infrastructure is not there. You know,
Hmm.
obviously, economy of scale, but it's not going to really take off. I would like it to take off, as you said, in commercial applications. I think replacing diesel with hydrogen makes some sense.
Yeah, one of the larger challenges right now is isolating hydrogen with low carbon emissions, because if you use a coal-fired power plant to isolate hydrogen, then what's the use, right?
Yeah,
Might have zero tailpipe emissions, but a lot of emissions go into isolating hydrogen. Yeah, not easy to do for sure. But so Akio Toyota CEO, went on to defend hydrogen and hybrids, but he really did talk about hydrogen quite a bit, and that was a bit surprising to me. I'm not quite sure why they're so invested in hydrogen because
because they bought a whole bunch of plants.
oh, tell me more about that.
Yeah, Toyota. So in Sacramento, there are 4 hydrogen charging stations. Toyota owns all 4 of them.
Okay.
So, and we were talking when I was at the dealership that they're making big investments into hydrogen production distribution networks. So, to me, it's like, well, yeah, of course you want to own the fuel as well as the vehicle. Therefore, you're pushing that. Then that made sense to me when they keep pushing the hydrogen, which not a lot of people are doing because it just doesn't make a ton of sense, unless of course you own the supply chain.
Mm-hmm. Now I just found another quote from Akio Toyota that I must bring up because this is a good point. I mean, we were kind of beating around the bush trying to read his mind, but here is what he said also at that same meeting this past week here in Las Vegas, I believe, for Toyota's dealers here in America. Once again, defending their decision to continue chugging along with hybrids and to slowly electrify the rest of their lineup. Justice, you might think this one is interesting. I want to know what you have to say about it. You might have a rebuttal. I don't know, but the quote is: in the short term, hybrids may provide the greatest range. Hybrids may provide the greatest good. Toyota can produce 8 plug-in hybrids with 40 miles of electric range for every single fully electric vehicle they produce. So 8 plug-in hybrids could be made, or 1 fully electric vehicle. That's according to Toyota's CEO, Akio Toyota.
So sure, and
It's true. I mean,
25 ICE vehicles
yeah,
can be
yeah.
made. So I mean, like, okay, this is accurate, and while I don't really have anything against hybrids, I currently drive a hybrid. Um, you know, it is a short-term fix. A lot of people like to, when they're talking EVs, those who don't really like EVs always talk about the EV fires, but then push hybrids. And I'm always like, have you dug into the numbers on fires? Because hybrids are the ones that catch on fire. So if you're talking about safety and crash, and hybrids are maybe not the best way to go. It is a good bridge right now, though.
Yeah, I guess I'm a fan of hybrids because they make fuel savings and lower carbon emissions accessible to those who may not be able to afford a $70,000 EV. So I think if we're looking at quick advancements and cleaning up the transportation sector globally, which here in America, 30% of our emissions in America come from the transportation sector, I think hybrids are a quicker solution, but they're not a long term solution. And I guess that's basically what Akio Toyota is saying. So perhaps I
Yeah,
agree with him more than I thought I did.
I think I do too. I mean, I do still push people um, on when we're advocating and they're asking me, if you're not in California, I do always recommend, look, you probably want to do hybrid now, and EV is your next vehicle.
Yeah.
It's probably the thing that makes the most sense right now. It maybe if you can get a plug-in hybrid so you can start learning that lifestyle, but otherwise, just a hybrid now and EV later makes the most sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And no matter what they're saying publicly, Toyota has invested tons and tons of money to electrify its lineup by 2030, specifically $70 billion, announced just last year. 70 billion to electrify its lineup. But it's still Toyota still says that by 2030 they expect just about 1/3 of their global sales volume to be fully electric. 3.5 million vehicles by 2030. That's how many they expect to sell that are fully electric. I mean, maybe they're just the most realistic and pragmatic of all automakers, at least publicly. I don't blame Toyota for what they're pivoting towards right now. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see other OEMs, legacy automakers coming out and adjusting expectations, not because they want to, but because they have to. I
Yeah,
mean,
I think supply chain is a big deal. It's taken Tesla how long to figure out how they do it, and they're still not selling Toyota numbers, right? I mean, they might be the largest EV producer, but they're nowhere near selling the amount of vehicles worldwide as Toyota is.
yeah,
And the supply chain is a real issue, and it's going to take building infrastructure out there to get it all done. And Toyota probably is right.
yeah. I mean, they like I
Yeah.
said, they pay people a lot of money to be smarter
Yep.
than you and I are about this.
Oh yeah.
Now, just to provide a little bit of a numbers behind why I think we could see more and more automakers being a bit more pessimistic about the timelines for electrification. I've been checking this almost every day. Lithium carbonate numbers are staying sky high. And keep in mind, the EV pricing that we all whine about today, because they are expensive, they are way too damn expensive. When we're talking about the average electric vehicle costing 66 grand, those price points were set before the most recent lithium price spike, which started in late winter to spring of 2022. Now it's going to be costing a lot more money to build an electric vehicle. And that's going to affect everything in the logistical side of EV production and the adoption side from the consumer standpoint. So, more automakers going to have to face the reality that lithium prices are going to affect EV prices, and EVs are already too expensive. I don't know. I'm just saying, why don't automakers start producing more 250-mile range EVs instead of 300 plus mile range EVs, lower the price point a tad, focus on expanding charging infrastructure. If you've got better charging infrastructure, you don't need 400 miles of range. But we'll see. We'll see if more automakers start heading that direction. I think they might be forced to. It's either make your electric vehicle cost 75 grand or lower the price, lower the range, but they're more accessible. I mean, I don't know. I wonder if Toyota's thinking about this too.
I'm sure they are, and but part of that has to be a shift in mentality of the public. The
Yeah.
reason why they're doing 300 plus mile range is people get range anxiety. They're going
Mm-hmm.
to drive to the grocery store and they go, "Oh, I only have 300 miles. I need more." Yeah, well, on a daily basis, no, you really don't need that much.
Yeah.
So it's a switch in perception for people, and if the consumer doesn't agree to go to the 200 and 250 mile range, then they can produce all the vehicles they want, but they're just going to be sitting around.
Yeah. That'd be a big waste of money, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. And not surprisingly, Toyota said that it's going to be very difficult to reach California's target of zero ICE, zero new ICE vehicle sales by 2035. I'm not surprised at all because it is going to be difficult.
Yeah.
It takes 5 to 7 years to bring a lithium mine fully online, not to mention the complications brought on by the new EV tax credits and how that's going to affect the whole industry. Yeah, it is going to be tough. Duh. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think even California said it was going to be easy.
Yeah.
They said these are aggressive goals. The Air Resource Board said these are aggressive goals, and we're pushing them aggressively because of that. But they are achievable if everyone's working together in that direction.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, absolutely. But we're still at the very beginning of all this. Who knows where things go from here? I mean, as Igor has said in the chat here, you have all the power supply issues in Europe and Asia, and so that could derail this even more. Or if that clears up somehow, you can this can ramp up really quick all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Just it just depends what happens. I'd say the next 5 years will dictate whether 2035 can happen or not.
Yep, totally. And we'll see what comes from that North Carolina factory that Toyota announced. They recently increased their investment in the North Carolina battery factory. So no matter what they're saying, they've got the money flowing and they've got construction contracts going. So they're working on expanding their investment here in the United States, and it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. Um, yeah, I mean, a lot going on, but Justice, thank you so much for joining me today, and we will be back Wednesday, probably Wednesday, depending on how quickly the automakers release their data, to talk about specifically how EV market share has changed in this past quarter that just came to an end. Looking forward to seeing if Tesla's market share increased, because I think it might have. Yeah.
I agree. I think it probably did,
Yeah.
and
All
will
right.
stay there for a while, I think.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today, and we will see you in a few days. Have a good Monday.